Kevin Hewitt Hopkins on 2 true bill indictments. One is 2021 GS 21-2070. That's receiving stolen goods, $2,000 to $10,000 under the 3-year statute. On that one, he's pleading his charge with recommendation of YOA probation. And then 2021 GS 21-954, that's a true bill indictment, I believe, for assault battery second degree. He pleads with lesser included offense of assault battery third degree under the 30-day statute with a recommendation of time served. And he is represented by Karen Parrott on these charges, and I have an order to lift the defense warrant on them as part of his plea.
All right, Mr. Hopkins, you're pleading guilty to receiving stolen goods, which carries up to 3 years in jail. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you're pleading guilty to assault and battery third degree, which carries up to 30 days in jail. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Were you in the courtroom today when I went over your rights to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand those rights?
Yes, sir.
You want to give up your right to a trial and plead guilty today?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You satisfied with your lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Has anybody promised you anything to get you to plea?
No, sir.
Anybody threatening you in any way to make you
No,
plea?
sir.
Or are you under the influence of any drug or alcohol?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. After the receipt of stolen goods case, this was May 22nd, 21, and it occurred at 1653 West Palmetto Street, which is a store called Heroes Hideout, which I believe deals in comic books and trading cards and the like. The defendant entered that location with a number of Magic the Gathering trading cards that were stolen out of the vehicle in the same parking lot the evening before. The defendant told the owner of the business that he wished to sell the cards and placed the cards on the counter and sold them to the location. He was identified by his driver's license, and the cards were later identified by the victim and 2 witnesses that those were indeed the stolen cards. The victim was valuing the cards at over $7,800. As to the, of course, they were recovered. As to the assault case, 23rd or 2020, the defendant and co-defendant were inside a victim's home located at 713 King Avenue. During the visit, I guess some issue occurred and the defendant assaulted the victim, left him on the floor bleeding. Of course, the victim named the defendant, advised he's worked for him in the past, and visited his home prior. The victim was shown a photograph of the defendant by an officer and confirmed the identity. He reported that a minor amount of things were taken from the home. I'm not sure if there was a charge there or not. Anyway, the defendant, as far as I know, doesn't have any prior convictions on the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Police Court. Your Honor, we would ask if you would go along with the 2 days time served sentence on the assault and battery charge, Your Honor. There were some extenuating circumstances, but there's not really too much for me to go into it, and he does admit his guilt in that regard. And also, when receiving stolen goods, Your Honor, he tells me that he was homeless at the time, he needed some money, and so he was trying to sell the cards, as was stated in that. We are asking if he would go along with the YOA suspended to probation for him, given the fact that he is just 20 years of age, Your Honor, and he does have some limited abilities.
Time served on the assault and battery, and you consider that not to exceed 3 years suspended time months of probation.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
May it please the court, before you is Rodriguez Thompson, this indictment 2020 21-00528. He's charged under that indictment with domestic violence, high and aggravated. He's pleading today to the lesser included domestic violence second degree, which carries up to 3 years. That indictment also includes a possession of controlled substance first offense. He's pleading today to Your Honor, the state has a recommendation in this matter of, I believe it's 281 days time served, suspended to a probationary period, Your Honor.
Mr. Thompson, you're pleading guilty to possession of controlled substance, which carries up to 6 months in jail. Is that correct? And you're pleading guilty to domestic violence second degree, which carries up to 3 years.
That same day, when they were on the way to that address, they were informed that the suspect had left empty vehicle. They observed that vehicle, conducted a stop, And when they searched it, they found a white pill bottle that contained oxycodone 40 milligram pills in it, which is a Schedule II controlled substance. He has a criminal history that includes a 2018 common law robbery, which was under the Useful Offender Act, and then a 2019 unlawful carry. And we have been in contact with the victim, and she did fill out a victim request form, Your Honor. He does have other charges that went along with these that will be dismissed pursuant to his plea.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, he did 281 days on this charge before being able to bond out, Your Honor. We're asking if you would go along with the recommendation. This is something that I've discussed with now Ms. Lethbridge. This was also Ms. Battenfield's case before that, so there's been a lot of going back and forth on this case, but given the victim doesn't want the case pursued either, we're asking if you would just go with the recommendation.
Sentence on the court on domestic violence is 3 years, suspended to 281 days time served, with 3 years probation, random drug testing, and time served on possession.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, before you is Michael Kelbach, indictment 2021 GS 21-00436. He's charged under that indictment with domestic violence 2nd degree, but is pleading today to domestic violence 3rd degree, which carries up to 90 days. The state is recommending time served. He's represented by Mr. Defense.
Is the victim agreed?
She is, Your Honor.
And Mr. Kelbach, you're pleading guilty to domestic violence 3rd degree, which carries up to 90 days in jail. Is that right? Were you in the courtroom today whenever your rights to a trial?
Yes.
Did you understand those rights? You want to give up your right to a trial and plead guilty today? You satisfied with your lawyer?
Yes.
Has anybody promised you anything to get you to plead?
No.
Anybody threatening you in any way to make you plead?
No.
Or are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol? All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident occurred on September 24, 2020 at 1302 Valparaiso Drive, apartment J19 in Florence, located in Florence County. When officers arrived, they spoke to the victim, who stated that there had been an argument over money between the two. They did have 3 children in common, one of whom, age 12, was present during this argument. Doesn't look like things ever got physical. There were some threats made, and he does not have a criminal record, Your Honor. That's the reason for the state's recommendation of time.
Judge, 6 days is what he did when he was arrested, and I've made him aware of the firearm prohibition with regards to domestic violence convictions, and he understands all that, and we're asking you to go along with the recommendation.
Time served.
And Your Honor, I'll pass up those firearm prohibition orders.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. McAdams, you're pleading guilty to possession with intent to distribute meth, which carries up to 15 years in jail. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
When you were in the courtroom today, whenever your rights to a trial,
Yes, sir.
did you understand those rights?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to give up your right to a trial and plead guilty today?
Yes, sir.
You satisfied with the lawyer? Has anybody promised you anything to get you to plead?
Yes, sir.
Anybody threatening you in any way to make you plead?
Yes, sir.
Or are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
No.
Okay, please support, Your Honor. Here in Florence County on October the 8th, 2019, Mr. McAdams was in possession of, along with 108, was in possession of 4.16 grams of methamphetamine. In terms of criminal record, Judge, I don't think he had much of anything, if anything, Judge. He had been through the PTI program, and for whatever reason, he was terminated, Judge. I would suggest, based on this methamphetamine, that you might consider some substance abuse counseling and alcohol testing.
Right. I would say, yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. McAdams actually began PTI on this case. Unfortunately, he's had some personal circumstances to prevent him from finishing that. Your Honor, he is considered about wanting to do probation in this case. We just asked if you follow the state's recommendation to place him on probation. He really has no significant records that I see on his NCIC. Your Honor, we would just ask you to give him credit for 2 days in jail.
Sentence of 46 years, suspended to 3 years for probation with the substance abuse counseling, random drug testing, and I'll keep up after 2 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
00959. He's charged with domestic violence second degree, which carries up to 3 years, including today's recommendation from the state for time served, Your Honor. The state will also pass up the firearm prohibition order.
Mr. Ellis, you're pleading guilty to domestic violence second degree, which carries up to 3 years in jail. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Were you in the courtroom today when I went over your rights to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand those rights?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to give up your right to a trial and plead guilty today?
Yes, sir.
You satisfied with your lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Has anybody promised you anything to get you to plead?
No, sir.
Anybody threatening you in any way to make you plead?
No, sir.
Or are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before I begin on the facts of this case, I do want to clarify for the record that Mr. Ellis does have some pending drug charges. Those will not be resolved pursuant to this plea. Those are still pending charges. The only thing we will be dealing with today is the domestic violence charge that he has.
Correct.
That's correct.
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident occurred January 14, 2017, at 1009 Layton Street in Florence, which is in Florence County. Officers made contact with the victim and stated the defendant struck her multiple times in the head and in the face. She was 7 months pregnant at the time with their child, Your Honor.
Accept the plea, yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please report. Your Honor, this is Mr. Mark Sellis. He's 28 years of age. He's born and raised here in Florence County. He obtained his education here in Florence County, went to Wilson High School. Your Honor, Mr. Ellis, this is a case, he was incarcerated in Darlington back in 2018. And this case is in conjunction with the motion to prevent warrant as well, because he was arrested and he was incarcerated while these charges were still pending. Your Honor, he's asking that the court accept the state's recommendation of time served.
So it's over the court's time, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Let the record reflect the state is serving Mr. Ellis with a copy of the firearm prohibition order.
Thank you.
Anthony Moore.
Mr. Brown, you're pleading guilty to breach of trust, which carries up to 10 years in jail. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you're pleading guilty to assault and battery of second degree, which carries up to 3 years in jail. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Were you in the courtroom today when I went over your rights to a trial?
Your Honor, he might have been in the hall.
Do you remember when I talked about you had a right to a jury trial and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, yes, sir.
You do remember that?
I remember that a while ago.
You talking about today, earlier today?
Later today.
Contacted Florence City Police Department to report that the money pouch was stolen out of the truck, I believe while it was at Walmart. Florence Police responded and spoke with Mr. Brown, got all the details. They can see on the store's video where the truck was parked in the parking lot. And they were able to watch this video, and they watched it over and over again because all they could see was the truck pulling in, Mr. Brown getting out, going into the Walmart, Mr. Brown coming back out of the Walmart, getting back in the truck, and nobody came anywhere near the truck during that period of time that they played the video. So they went back and talked to him again. Ultimately, he admitted that he had taken this money. Now, the reason for the restitution hearing is because he reported at the time that he thought there was approximately $9,000 in cash and a number of checks in the money pouch. The owner of the business reported somewhere closer to $14,000. So we'll have to have a hearing on that. He has no prior record. Now, at least as to that. With regard to indictment 22-00898, assault battery second degree, that occurred about a year ago, April 24th of 2021. It was reported to the Florence Police Department at 512 Royal Street. The victim in the case was Jasmine Foxworth. She reported that she and Mr. Brown had been arguing. It was getting heated. She decided to call the police. When she
She tried to use her funds, grabbed funds from her, pushed her down. At any rate, when he realized the police were coming, he left the residence, so he was not there when law enforcement arrived. Judge, I'll just tell you honestly, apparently Mr. Foxworth has had a second thoughts and didn't want this case prosecuted. However, 2 days later, he was arrested in Darlington County and charged with a similar assault. And for that reason, we felt like this is something that ATV might be able to address going forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Brown is 26, he graduated from Wilson High School and he works at Lookout. His Foxworth was actually here, she's present in the audience. They have a 2-year-old son together, Your Honor. She did not want to pursue these charges, but we understand the solicitor's position. And he has already began anger management, Your Honor, so that was not a problem in completing that program. And he tells me that Darlington charge put him into a PTI, like, I guess they're not calling it PTI, something to do with COVID, but some sort of program like that, and he is completing anger management. He did spend 3 days in jail, Your Honor, and as Mr. Hafer indicated, he does not have any prior general sessions record. So we just ask that you go along with the recommendation of the probation.
Richard Trust, 6 years, suspended to 5 years on probation. P.W. should he fail, random drug testing and restitution is ordered, but deferred. In reference to the assault and battery, 3 years suspended, 3 years for probation, and they're concurrent. He's to complete ATV, and Albert will be picked up upon that completion with random drug testing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Daryl Muzan. Mr. Muzan? I'm here. Okay, I'm need you up here, and Mr. Kessler, just come out up here and lecture, please. Your Honor, standing in front of you is Daryl Muzan on 2021, GS 21-321. He pleaded possession of other controlled substances between schedules 1 through 5. The first offense, represented by Mr. Etheridge. The state is recommending a $25 fine.
Mr. Rizal, you're pleading guilty to possession of controlled substances, which carries up to 6 months in jail. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Were you in the courtroom today when I went over your rights to a jury trial?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand those rights?
Yes, sir.
You would give up your right to a trial and plead guilty today?
Yes, sir.
You satisfied with your lawyers?
Yes, sir.
Has anybody promised you anything to get you plead?
Yes, sir.
Anybody threatening you in any way to make you plead?
Yes, sir.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, very quickly, on September 1st, 2020, in Florence County, Mr. Muzan was in possession of both weed and norepinephrine and alprazolam, which are scheduled controlled substances.
Yes, sir.
Judge, this was unfortunate accident. He did 5 days. Nothing but synthetic and nothing but contrition. He was actually going to the
How much time does he need?
5 days. I think he would need about 30 days to pay.
30?
Yes.
Okay. 90 days or a $25 fine. I'm giving 5 days credit, 30 days to pay.
Thank you, Judge.
Hey, police support, Your Honor. Before the court is Sterling Daniels on True Donors Act 2021, GS 21-02771. He's before the court pleading guilty as charged to unlawful carrying a pistol. He's represented by Kevin Etheridge. The state is recommending a $25 fine.
Mr. Daniels, you're pleading guilty to unlawful carrying of a pistol which carries up to 1 year in jail. Is that right? Were you in the courtroom today when I went over your rights to a trial? Did you understand those rights? Do you want to give up your right to a trial and plead guilty today?
Yes, sir.
You satisfied with your lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Has anybody promised you anything to get you to plead?
Yes, sir.
Anybody threatening you in any way to make you plead?
No, sir.
Or are you under the influence of any drug trial?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, this offense occurred on April 5th of 2021. On that day, a deputy with the Florence County Sheriff's Office stopped a vehicle driven by Mr. Daniels at the Lake City area of Florence County. As he made contact with Mr. Daniels was exhibiting extreme nervous behavior. There was a slight odor of marijuana coming from his person in the car. The officer asked for consent to search the vehicle and located a handgun, a .380 caliber semi-automatic pistol that was in the driver's door compartment area in the vehicle. And Mr. Daniels was at that time taken into custody and charged with unlawful carrying of the pistol. He has no prior criminal record.
Yes, sir. The judge, as Mr. Rogers alluded to, has no prior criminal history. We just asked that you go along with his recommendation. I think he's about 30 days to pay that, and he did 2 days here.
All right, 90 days or $20 fine, I'll give you 2 days credit, 30 days to pay the additional condition.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, while I've got Mr. Edwards up here, there's a defendant that failed to appear today, represented by Mr. Edwards. That's James Jacobs Jr.